Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's the Motivator Show. Oh, yeah. Oh, let's turn that music down, shall we? Here we go. It's the Motivator Show. It's going to be a fantastic show today. I'm rather excited, to say the least. Preparations. It's 9/10 of success. This is, of course, where we translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. I hope you're feeling good because I'm feeling fantastic. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, let's get on with this show. It's an interesting series of preparation today. Of course, it is election day in Nigeria. Yep, an awesome election, a impactful, meaningful election in that great country of Nigeria. And we're going to discuss this later on. But before I begin, I did want to give praise and thank you to Ian King on galaxyafui.net from taking us from night to day. Well done, Ian King. Okay. And of course, to all the galaxyafui.net management team. Okay. Let's give recognition. But of course, if you are viewing us via YouTube and Facebook, of course, under the Motivator Show, DE Motivator Show, please give us a like. This is an affirmation that the content is to your liking. We should continue to develop these contents. Give us the like, yeah? The thumbs up. Or subscribe and you receive notifications of future shows, okay? But the thumbs up is an affirmation. Please, just go to YouTube or Facebook. Give us the thumbs up. It really does help us to spread the words. The numbers who are accessing the show via YouTube and Facebook continue to go up exponentially every month. And I want to thank you for your support. And of course, we've also got the other platform, which is, of course, Mixcloud. You can hear us via Mixcloud if all else fails. Okay, again, under the Motivator Show. But let's go right into the show. Of course, the usual format is that in this part of the show, I devote to our health. Our health is our wealth. Yeah, that's the real wealth that we have. The wealth of a nation are its people. That's why you've got to invest in the people, particularly young people. And that's a message for Nigeria. Invest in the young people, because they will be the foundation of your future success. Invest in the young people. On this part of our show, I want to focus on our health. Just to spend a few minutes, crucial minutes, on how to maintain good health. I usually start from our lifestyles. Mhm. Many of the contemporary diseases, health conditions, which negatively impact upon our peoples are invariably lifestyle conditions. And all they require is simple adjustment to our lifestyle to improve our overall health and well-being. And being an elected official myself, I see the stats, and they make for uncomfortable reading, very uncomfortable reading. Therefore, it is incumbent upon me to highlight what we need to do to make a difference in our lives, our loved ones' lives, our friends, our network lives, and beyond. Each one teaches one. Yeah. This is the collective approach to promoting our health. We share knowledge for our collective good. Yeah. That's the good of a nation. That's the good of all people, all human beings. So I want to communicate this message to you in regards to our health. Some really simple interventions that you can make to improve your overall health and indeed your lifespans. Simple steps. The first consideration, and these are not instructions, these are not commands, these are not demands. It is your choice. And if in doubt, speak to a health professional. They provide you with the authoritative information. So I simply ask you, please, to consider the amount of sugar and salt that you consume every day. Yep, the very basic ingredients, sugar and salt. Sugar that we, particularly as children, yeah, consume in vast quantities. And many of us take those habits into our adulthood. Okay. Not having any inkling of the cumulative impact consuming large amount of sugar and salt has on our bodies and our minds and our overall health and well-being. Mm-hmm. Sugar being the primary culprit for many in the community with diabetes. Mm-hmm. Sugar is one of those ingredients, because of its similarity to the chemicals in our brains, in our pleasure centers, as it were, okay, can have long-term implications for how we manage sugar in our bodies over time. Yeah? Our pancreas and the production of insulin is a big issue, big issue. Here in Britain and the Caribbean, and indeed the Americas, in our communities, particularly African communities, Black communities, Asian communities, yeah, particularly from India and so on, have way above levels of diabetes in our communities. So I say to you, consider the amount of sugar you consume every day and consider gradually reducing that sugar intake over time. In my case, I no longer buy sugar from the local grocery store. And it's one of the best actions I ever took. I lost weight. I have far more energy. Yeah. Contrary to the popular notion, consuming sugar gives you energy. Absolutely does. Excessive amount of sugar has a cumulative impact on our bodies over time. So I ask you please to consider the amount of sugar or sucrose that you take into your body. I say sucrose, but particularly because if you read the packets, yeah, what your food contains, you see sucrose, yeah, that's sugar. I ask you to consider the amount of sugar you intake, and equally, I ask you to consider the amount of salt that you consume. Again, one of these ingredients we add to our foods on the basis it enhances the flavor. And I suspect it does. Yeah, I suspect it does. And that's where the idea, the notion came from. But to consume every day salt in the quantum that we ingest, for far too many members of our community, it is harmful. Harmful. The hardening of our arteries, yeah, the additional pressure we place on our heart, the raising of our blood pressures, and the potential consequences of our raised blood pressure or hypertension, if you are a clinician, is that you become prone to aneurysms, which means your veins, your arteries might burst. Yeah? If it's in the brain, it's definitely fatal. Other parts of the body you may possibly recover from. I seriously ask you to consider the amount of salt and sugar that you ingest every day. Again, in both cases, gradually reduce it. If not better still, you don't need to add sugar and salt to your diet. I urge you, please, to consider very carefully the amount of salt and sugar that you ingest. Equally, and I know this is painful for some, because you form habits as a child, yeah, and you take these habits into adulthood, okay, and these are habits you believe are normal until, of course, you see the stats and you see the levels of diabetes and hypertension or high blood pressure in our communities, and you ask your question, why? Why? It's our lifestyles. I ask you also to consider the amount of fat and carbohydrates that you consume. Yeah. I realize for many, you say, oh no, what do you mean by that? I mean exactly what I say. You know, fat typically ingested as a result of consuming meat, juice coming out of it. It appears to be nice, doesn't it? Yeah. It appears to be nice. Yeah. You might use it for your gravy or thereafter, but actually it is fat. Many of our foods are especially fattened. Yep, it is fat, but often stays in your bodies. When you see these men and women with these bloated shoulders, bloated abdomen, bloated thighs, bloated buttocks, you know, well, some women might look interesting, but actually it's additional weight you could do without. So I ask you, please, to consider the amount of fat that you are ingesting, and where possible, avoid the additional fat. And of course, carbohydrates is a challenge for us all. But of course, carbohydrates typically found in the wheat products and some root vegetables, such as potatoes and yams. And I know these are staple ingredients in our cuisine. It is a challenge. I recognize that. I recognize it's a challenge to avoid it. But it's the quantum that is the challenge for us. Okay? Moderate the consumption of carbohydrates. Again, we store fat and carbohydrates in our bodies. Yeah. Again, it contributes to the what is in many of our communities around the world to us being overweight. Yeah. Particularly amongst our women in the United States of America. Can you imagine? 80% of African American women are overweight. Here in Britain, it's more than 65% of our women are overweight, primarily caused by lifestyle conditions. So I ask you, please, to consider the amount of fat and carbohydrates that you consume. And I've got to just say, as regards fat, there's one last pointer. Dairy products. Dairy products are simply another form of cow's fat. Cheese is hardened cow's fat. The margarine is just a lesser form, less intense form of cow's fat. Okay. And milk, of course. I know babies need milk. I know, I agree. Bovine lactose, as it were. For adults, I'll leave you to speak to your own doctor, to your own GP, and let that professional give you the advice whether or not you need to add that additional fat in that form to your diet. And lastly, as regards the negatives, starch is another big one. I know I can hear both the Caribbeans and the Africans from the continent going, "Oh no, what is he about to say?" Yes, I'm from Jamaica. Rice and peas is one of our staple foods. I know in Nigeria, yeah, jollof rice, Ghana, jollof rice. I know. But actually, it's simply starch. Starch we store for energy purposes. To eat it every day like most things, you do it every day, it's likely to have negative impacts on you. Yeah. Why far too many members of our community are overweight, burdened, their organs are burdened. Yeah. Therefore, we become susceptible to diabetes, hypertension, being overweight or obese. Okay. With heart conditions. Yeah. Reduce immunoresponse when you're exposed to viruses and bacteria. Yeah. As a direct result of our lifestyle. I'm not an expert. I'm not a professional in this, but I've been advised and counseled by experts. And my public status means that I'm obliged to share this information to you. And what they all universally agree, we need to consume far more fruits and vegetables, particularly green vegetables, in far larger quantums, and reduce the consumption of meat to no more than 5% of our overall diet. Lesser, even better still. Yeah. Far more fruits and vegetables, particularly green vegetables, but a broad range of vegetables. Yeah. Try to avoid too many of those root vegetables, which are jam-packed full of carbohydrates. So I simply ask you to consider this advice. I'm told by the professionals you should consume at least 2 to 3 liters of water per day. Yeah. Do you drink between 2 to 3 liters of water per day? I have my water right here. There you are. I drink between 2 to 3 liters of water per day. Yeah. It's beneficial. We are primarily water. More than 70% of our human physiology. Oh, yeah. We are 70%, more than 70% water. Please drink your water. Equally, I'm told by the health professionals, you should exercise. Exercise is absolutely critical if you are to live a long, healthy lifestyle without being burdened by illnesses. Again, a deliberate act. Yeah. Prior to this program, I went out for a run, a vigorous run in my case, for a good 2 to 3 miles. Yeah. And then get onto my weights. I've got my weights here. There we are. I've got my weights right here. There you are. Get my weights up. Yeah. Doing this of all parts of my body. Oh my gosh, I love it. Why I feel so vigorous when I come on to you each day. Yeah. But I'm adding years to my life when I do this. Yeah. I'm boosting my immune response. I'm raising my energy levels, and I feel absolutely reinvigorated by deliberate action. So I would encourage you to do the same. More fruits and vegetables, particularly green vegetables, but a broad range of vegetables. Drink the appropriate amount of water. Exercise every day. And last but not least, it is vital, of course, that we take care of our mental health. If in doubt, I wish to encourage you to seek professional advice. Okay? Equally important, take care of your spiritual health. I've found personally meditation to be a powerful tool, a truly powerful tool. Prior to beginning the day in earnest, to meditate for about 20, 30, 40 minutes. Yeah. Allow all the cares of the world to push away, and you'll center yourself, you'll focus your mind, and prepare yourself for the day to come. Now, this is not instructions, these are not commands, yeah? These are not demands, it is your choice. But do it for yourself, for your loved ones, for your family, for your friends, those who respect you, those in your network, and for your wider community as an example. And together, our communities will become healthier. I hope all that makes sense to you, okay? I hope it makes sense to you. But I see the figures, and the figures make for uncomfortable reading. We can And we must, I urge you, as a community, do better when it comes to our health. Our health is indeed our wealth. There you go. And that's enough for me on that subject. But I hope the message is getting through to you all. And I've got to say to those who have written in and given acknowledgement, I want to say thank you for your acknowledgement. Okay, I would say thank you for your acknowledgement. But I realize for some people it is difficult to change habits of a lifetime. Okay, I recognize this, but together we must work together to promote our broad health and well-being. All right, I'm going to move on now because this is going to be an interesting show, and I believe that this will be one of those shows in which we will set down for history. We want to talk about that great country of Nigeria. Nigeria, of course, and I point out to Nigerians, and they usually become relatively quiet when I say this. Nigeria is a baby country. It's a baby country, just like my own land of my birth, Jamaica. These are baby countries. I'm based here in London, in England. London, England, has had over 1,000 years of development. More than 1,000 years of development. There was upon a time in which there was more than 1,000 or so monarchs ruling families in little villages or so right across what is known as the British Isles. 1,000 years. And they war amongst themselves continuously. And over time, the number of ruling families here in Britain reduced. But the numbers of people who died during this period was significant. And those of you brought up in Britain or part of the British Empire would have been taught about the kings and queens, the monarchs of Britain. So you know already of the turbulent history that is Britain. So Nigeria, by comparison, is performing exceptionally well. I know it's hard to believe, but if Nigeria has 1,000 years to evolve to the state in which you have peace today, your view of Nigeria will be very different. So I'm very optimistic for the future of Nigeria because the evolution, social evolution that has occurred there has been tremendous. In the early days of Britain, you didn't have big corporations with wealth that is akin to large economies. Yeah, I won't quote names of big companies, but you know they are, and they're worth hundreds of billions of pounds. Some companies are now worth trillions of pounds, and their influence, both social, political influence, is significant. Alongside, of course, the religious influences also bears down on Nigeria. Okay, strong religious belief systems which don't always complement each other, yeah, and become a source of social tension. Okay. We Africans have lived for hundreds of thousands of years, been the cradle of mankind, in peace, until many of these external influences bear down on the continent. So whilst today is the most important day in the life and times of Nigeria, okay, today is election day, and there will be a change of president. Okay, that will happen, marking today. Okay, I'm well aware of the tensions, the issues that have arisen in the run-up to today. I'm well aware of the trauma, the many unfortunate circumstances that have occurred today. I'm well aware. And I lament those experiences. I truly lament those experiences. But I want to encourage you all to be optimistic about the future of Nigeria, the whole of West Africa, yep, and extend across to East, Central, and indeed Southern Africa. Because very much this is a mindset. So I wish all the candidates in today's presidential elections, and indeed regional elections in Nigeria, I wish them all well. And I optimistically seek and hope for a smooth transfer of power from one president to another. Okay. I realize not everyone will be satisfied, don't you worry? I get that. I understand. But I want to encourage you all to be optimistic for the future. So what I want to do today is to open the phone lines at a much earlier point. Okay, I'm going to engage with Nigerians, okay, particularly Nigerians, discuss Nigeria, the future of that great country. Okay. I'm going to shy away from simply discussing the divisions in the country. I want us, because this whole point of a presidential election is an opportunity to reset, yeah, to revisit the future, yeah, to make demands of your political electorate. It's an opportunity to refresh your hope for the future. So let's discuss the future. What is possible? Because in my book, nothing is impossible. For the taking. So I'm going to open up the phone lines early, but I've got a number of guests I've invited, and I see that at least one of my guests has arrived already, and that's good. He's early. You know, there's no saying. It's the early bird that catches the worm, huh? Okay. Oh, yeah. I feel so vigorous. I feel so optimistic for the future. So I'm going to bring in my guest, and there are a few other guests who I'm sure will turn up at African times, which means they will be precise. Okay. Okay, none of this other stuff. Yeah? I want to make sure that happens. But I want to stimulate real dialogue. And of course, there's an opportunity for those who are listening, those who are viewing, and if you're viewing us via YouTube or Facebook, in addition to giving us the thumbs up, you can also chat to the studio. And we've got the studio chat up now. You can chat to us via the chat facility, okay? And I acknowledge Brother Ashton, and I also acknowledge Amika as well. Thank you for your messages, okay? Thank you for your messages. And I welcome other messages from listeners, okay? If you're shy, I know there are many of you who are shy to call in. Don't you worry. You can communicate with the studio via the messenger. Okay, I hope that helps you. So I'm going to bring in my guest. Start just bringing them in. As he's early, why not? Yeah, let's bring him in now. Let's see if I can get him into the studio now. Let's hope the technology works. We do a quick sound. Oh, it does work. It worked without any problem whatsoever. One moment. Let's just bring it up this way. Here we go. There you go. That's better. That's better. Is this Cliff? Can you hear us all right?
Yes.
It can.
Yes, I
Keep
can hear
talking,
you.
Cliff. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing very well. Can
I
you hear me?
can. And let's get this. I'm going to adjust your volume slightly. That's better. You've got this strong but softly spoken voice, of course, Cliff. Huh?
Well, is that good for your listening audience?
It is rather. Don't you just keep it up? Don't you worry. I
Okay.
know your strengths.
Mhm.
I like that. Yeah, that.
Mhm.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Okay.
Yes.
Now I know you, Cliff. I know you. I'm just going to ask you before I say anything else. Just introduce yourself to the audience, just so they know who you are and your connection with Nigeria. Please just introduce yourself.
My name is Prince Cliff Zombato from Adamawa State of Nigeria. Um, I currently am in Atlantic Canada in New Brunswick. This is where my base has been for the past, I don't know, over 25, 30 years. I've lived and worked in Canada and around the world. I'm a social worker by profession. Um, Pretty much that's and a farmer. I'm a farmer. I actually love your presentation on healthcare, and I think it's a very important thing because I'm a vegan and I believe that Africans should understand the reality that is facing our
Mhm.
continent and our people. That if we don't have health, there's no way we can engage in the international discourse of life and moving forward with our communities. And I think that's very key. So, and I'm very grateful that you took a chunk of your time to emphasize the the reality of the situation, that on everything that you mentioned is actually very, very critical and very important. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's very beautiful. Um, Having said that, I think it is very important for us to sort of look at the reality of what's happening in Nigeria at the moment.
Yes.
I'm
Can I, can
having
I, can I, before you go into that,
yeah,
can I just check in terms of so you're currently based in Canada, I
yeah,
acknowledge, okay.
yeah.
Are you able to vote? Do you have the opportunity to vote in Nigeria this time around?
Oh, oh no, we have Nigeria hasn't gotten to that point yet where we
Aha,
can start
okay.
voting
Mhm,
in diaspora.
mhm,
I think that time will come, and we will vote. Like
mhm,
like you indicated, Nigeria is a pretty young democracy, and so
mhm,
we're taking our time, and I think we'll get there.
mhm. And you said you're from Adamawa State. What's the significant cultural significance of that state? Just give us some idea.
Adamawa State is the Adamawa State has the largest uh, ethnic group in Nigeria.
Uh-huh,
It has 21 tribes.
uh-huh.
And in that state alone, in our kingdom, we have probably about 12 significant different tribes. So in my village, we probably have four,
Oh, wow, good, good.
four different tribes. So it is a very
Mhm,
important part. And one of
mhm,
the presidential candidates actually from there, I just watched him on live TV, just cast his vote a few minutes ago.
mhm,
So and like it's a very important part of Nigeria. The wife of the current president is
yeah,
from there.
uh-huh,
Um, the northern eastern part of Nigeria uh, has come up with a lot of very important people in Nigeria. So it is a very crucial part of Nigeria that has contributed immensely to the development and continued development of Nigeria. A
I'm
majority of the
glad to.
people, the majority of the economy
Yeah,
there is
mhm,
actually um, sort of fishing. There's a lot of fishing because of the rivers there. There's a lot of farming. A lot of our people are farmers. I remember my family was the one taking care of Abiola Farms, which is one of the largest farms in the 80s and in the 80s and 90s in Nigeria.
mhm.
So yeah, so we're very ardent farmers.
And if I'm about to ask this question,
Mhm.
as you say, there are many tribes in the state. Do they live in peace with each other?
Yeah, for the most of it, yes.
Mhm,
I think there's a lot of peaceful coexistence among
mhm,
our tribes in Adamawa State.
mhm,
Um, Most of the time, religion has been uh, the most trigger for conflict in Nigeria, not tribes,
mhm,
for the most part of it. So, I mean, like if you remove religion from the context, then you have a very peaceful tribe because the
mhm,
tribes within themselves they have innate cultural dynamics that help to create diplomatic relationships among them, cultural marriages, cultural transfer of power, cultural coexistence, farming cultures, and all forms of traditions that initiate peace within different tribes. And then there is a lot of people learn to speak different language. My father spoke more than 12 languages.
Oh, right.
So the ability for us to speak in that region, the ability for you to speak more than 4 languages is a common thing.
Oh. So, would you say that members of your communities have developed the diplomatic skill to resolve differences and thereby reinforce
Absolutely.
peaceful coexistence?
Absolutely. Now,
Mhm.
it is psychological in our tribe, in our culture. And it's very important. It's very interesting that you asked this question, because I was thinking about it a few days ago concerning how our people sort of somebody asked me that why is it that Africans didn't develop weapons. I said to them that in my language, the word weapon is the instrument of anger,
Mm-hmm.
the tool of anger.
Mm-hmm.
That is to say that if I'm having a conversation with you in my language, I need to hold to my own emotions and my own biases and subdue it so that I can listen to you and hear you, not just your words, and understand your position. And then I can respond. Now, if I use weapons, that is to say, I am defeated in my conversation, so I'm going to use the tool of anger.
Mm-hmm.
I will resort to using a tool of anger in order to resolve my problems. So the word weapon is shitomune. That is to say, the tools that you use when you're angry. That's the reality of tools. So the true enemy in a war, in my tribe, in my language, in my community, is war itself. So the ability for us to sort of coexist, it's a very, very important part of our culture. So
Mm-hmm.
diplomacy, coexistence is ingrained in our psychology as a people,
Mm-hmm.
and war is very foreign
Yes.
to our people. And
Yes.
that's the actual truth with it.
I'm of course aware of
Yes.
this philosophy, and I needed you to describe it to the audience, because often this is the philosophy that is not fully appreciated.
Yes.
The philosophy of peace, peaceful
Yes.
coexistence,
That's right.
respect for your neighbors. Yeah,
Yes.
to honor your neighbors. They don't have to be a member of your immediate community.
No, they
They're
don't have
simply
to.
your neighbors. Huh? Right.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I hope Nigeria would have heard this, because this is an integral part of that great nation.
Absolutely.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, we've been joined by my co-presenter, Empress Abner. Good morning to you, Empress. I hope you're fine.
Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, I'm late. My mum called this morning and wanted to
Oh,
speak, so I couldn't say
wonderful,
no to my mum. Sorry.
wonderful, wonderful. That's fine. You don't say sorry for your mother. Oh my gosh, my mother's passed, so you'd be honoured that your mother called. And Empress Abner, Cliff, is in fact from Ghana. And
Um,
and I have to
Nigeria.
say, okay, Empress, he asked you where is your family from in Ghana?
my dad's from Kumasi and my mum is from Asamankase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah. So it is so important that the whole of that region, in my view, being someone born outside of the continent, I look in. What I see is sameness. That's what I see is sameness. Yeah. Well, very much the same people, slightly different in traditions, but the same people. Peace, peace has got to be the watchword. Peace. and growth has got to be the watchword. So,
Yeah.
if I may, then, Cliff, I did want to just go into a few questions. Okay. This election that we're going through today, what's its significance that you wish to highlight to the audience? What's the significance of this particular election?
The significance of this election is to show the maturity and continuity of democracy in Nigeria. And this is the third time that Nigerians are going back to the polling booth to decide who governed them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very critical part of our transition in our young democracy. In the previous elections, Nigerians have gone successfully to vote. There has never been any catastrophic electoral process in Nigeria in terms of lack of peace or trouble or stuff in a grand that would sort of completely deny the process of happening. No. The problem that has always occurred is that the government in power will deny the process from going forward.
Yes.
But generally, if you look at it, so about 75% of the time, Nigerians they peacefully go to the polling booths and cast their votes and wait for the election to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So this is from the past 20 years, 25 years, we're seeing sort of a move, a gradual move towards accepting that is a normal reality. But what is important in this sense here is that we are going to again see a new player in the field that has never entered into the political arena to show a shift away from the traditional political powerhouse, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a new player in town, and I think that's very essential. And he was able to galvanize the grassroots and move things forward and sensationalize the young people in that sense. And capturing that demographic is very critical to our democratic process in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
And how that sort of show itself in the polling booth today will be critical in terms of it, because the two realities to that effect is that one, is he just appealing to the social media consumers in Africa, in Nigeria, and in diaspora, or is he really appealing to the consciousness of Nigerian political reality? So all of this ends today. All of that ends today. It is very important that this political process reveal the reality, whether the sensation is just media motivated or internet motivated, because to be perfectly honest with you, the consumers of social media in Nigeria are in the minorities.
Yes.
People in the villages who don't have electricity, they're not connected to this vibe. If they are connected, their voices is not usually represented in the polling surveys that happen in general. So, and I'm a very close, I've done campaign for the current president in Adamawa State with other. I was involved. I was the MC when he came to Yola. I was there to welcome him and handed. I was privileged to be in the caucus for the party in them days. So I'm I know exactly what's going on today. Most of the presidential candidate will have a command center where they have representative from all the other states, and it's a very interesting process, and very honestly very tiresome.
I understand you. Yes, if I may, and I recognize that what you described to be a fact. I've gone through a number of political elections myself, so I completely understand.
That's right.
What I think I might do at this point, I've got my other guests coming, and there are a few others which are going to join us shortly. But I want to bring James into the studio. Let's see if we can bring him in, and let's reformat my screen so we can put you both at center stage. James, are you with us, James?
Yes, I'm with you.
You are. Okay. Right.
I am.
Excellent. So we can't see you, but we can hear you fine.
Okay. Well,
right.
Is there a kind of a video button that needs to be pressed in here?
I suspect it's your end. You don't have your camera on, James.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whilst you're doing that, I'm going to ask you, please, if you don't mind, Cliff, just to introduce yourself, James. I know you. Just say who you are and which part of Nigeria you're from.
Right. Okay. Good morning, Councillor Martin and all speakers on the platform. My name is James Ademoyiwa. I am from Ogun State, which is the western part of Nigeria.
And you're based here in London, of course. Yeah?
Yes, I'm based in London. Yes.
Okay. And
I've been permanently resident in London for 35 years now.
Wow. Okay, a long time. Okay. And yes. A question I asked Cliff early on. Is what's so special about the state that you come from? What's so special about it?
Well, I mean, historically, Ogun State is known to be a major state in the whole of the structure of Nigeria, because it's got a lot of traditional connections to it. It's got a lot of cultural connections to it. It's got a lot of historical connections to it, and it's got a major tourist connection there. There's a very popular tourist center in Ogun State called Olumo Rock.
Right. Okay.
This Olumo Rock is an historic tourist center in Ogun State. It's in Abeokuta, and people come there from all over the world to come and just tour around the center, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
Why is it special? That place. Why is it special?
Well, it's special because of the history behind it. It was a place where the very old warriors. That was the point where they fought a major war, and they used that rock as a shield, where they hide under different part of the rock to protect themselves from all the attacks from the grenades and all the launch that enemy made. And from that particular spot, they managed to fight the war, and then they won the battle, and there was a victory that was won.
I understand. So, Osun State, but of course, I recognize the god of fertility, growth. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Just tell us a little bit about Osun. I'm interested now.
Well, I particularly don't know much about Osun State, because I left Nigeria when I was very young. So I know more about Ogun State and Lagos. I actually lived in Lagos all my life before I left Nigeria.
I understand.
So Ogun State for me at the time was I had to pull myself back to Ogun State to go and learn the history and the culture and the tradition of that place. My parents were Lagos based, and they were more Western, modern lifestyle kind of people who just believe they want to raise their children up in Lagos. But I had to force myself back to my origin to go and just learn things there. So, yeah, I know more about Ogun than
I
Osun.
understand. And my last question, and then we get you both alongside each other. This elections, is this one of the most impactful elections that Nigeria will have since the generals of 1999? What's so special about this particular presidential elections?
Well, for me, there are three major things that is so special about it. Number one, this is the first time ever in the history of Nigeria that we were going to have three major contenders for that are vying for the office of the presidency. We've never had it like this. We've never had three major contenders. It has always been between two.
Yes.
This particular election that is holding right now in Nigeria is the first ever where we're going to have three major contenders, and each of them are not underdogs.
Yes.
And the second thing that makes this election very different and special to me is we've never had an awareness of the need to elect someone into that office of the president on merit.
Yes.
It has always been whoever has the biggest bag of money takes that office.
Yes.
So for the first time in the history of electoral process in Nigeria, we're now having a situation where it's not the man that has the biggest bag of money now, it's the man that merits that office.
Understood.
Also, coupled with that is the fact that we've never had a participation of the young people in the electoral process in Nigeria like we have it today. The young people, majority of the young people usually don't vote. They support some parties, they support candidates, but they themselves, they don't vote. And also in the churches, majority of Christians don't vote. They don't support parties in terms of, what they say, their opinion and all that. But for the first time, the churches in Nigeria rose up and create a massive awareness amongst all their members. And some church members, even, it may look like they're doing it in a jovial way, but they're not joking about it. They mandate it for all their members to have PVC before they come to church. Okay. They want to see their PVC.
Right.
So they controlled and they monitor the process so rigidly that they want all members to vote. And when they do that, they're encouraging their members to vote based on their conscience.
Yes.
Based on the state of the nation. So that is something that has never happened before in Nigeria. And the final one is, we've never had it in the history of Nigeria before that a new candidate that was vying for the office of the president became so rapidly popular and accepted in the way that Peter Obi has been. That has never happened before.
Isn't that fantastic? If I may, James, isn't that fantastic? I put it out, you may not have heard, that Nigeria, I know you're going to cringe, it's a baby country. It's a baby country, but evolving at a rapid rate. Okay? Evolving at a rapid rate. Britain has had 1,000 years to achieve the peace and the wealth that is contained here in Britain. Okay? 1,000 years. Nigeria's had but a few decades. And look at the progress being made. Yeah, look at that progress, and it is significant. It is a powerful statement, as you say. It is
I
truly
think
a powerful statement. Yes, Cliff. Yes, Cliff. Yeah.
I think my concern, and I also like to see what James is what was James' thoughts on this will be, is that is the sensation that is like we see the ones that we're seeing about Peter Obi, are we is that sensation going to translate into vote, or is that going to awake also the opposition from the other side? Because it is a reality that it's not only the Christians in Nigeria, because I think he's bringing a lot of Christian. He didn't talk about the Muslims sort of reaction to that component. So I'd like to hear your thoughts, James, on whether you believe that whether you believe that the churches will
Well,
mobilize their
you
people
must forgive me, Jay.
to vote for Christian candidates.
One moment, Cliff. Your audio has become a bit frayed. If you possibly your mic, we're losing you a little bit. You just say again, just repeat what you said a moment ago. I'm really sorry.
All right. So what the question I'm asking here is you talked about the Christian component of the momentum that the Christian of the Christian audience, the Christian population have sort of show in this. So I mean, is it now what you're bringing here? You're bringing a religious component to this political party, to this political race. What about the other side? What about the other side? What are your thoughts on the other side of the spectrum?
James, did you hear? Yeah. Go ahead.
Cliff, my thought on the other side is equally the same. They have created a very strong awareness amongst their members as well, to ensure that their members vote. And in the same way that the Christian body were sensitizing the awareness of their members, the same way the other side is doing. But let's put it this way. If you look at the structure of Nigeria, and if you look at the way that elections have been conducted in the past, let's just talk about the past 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
You will find very clearly, Cliff, that the Christians have participated a lot less, and they've gotten involved a lot less than what we have now. They, for whatever reason, maybe they just feel complacent, or they just feel, well, things will change by itself naturally, or they just feel that, well, what will be will be. That's what I have observed. Maybe somebody else have observed something different. But the other side have always been awakened to be fully participate in the election process, especially in the whole of the North. This is the first time that that I have ever heard, anyway, that the church, inside the church, will be talking about elections and waking their members up and insisting or encouraging strongly to say, look, get your voters, PVC, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. Things are going bad. It is currently terrible. And if you look at it, the state of the nation is bad. I don't want to go into the way that our current president has regionalized the selection of all the key armed forces chiefs into one zone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go into that, but all those things are very distressing.
Yes.
So it's very distressing to find that in a nation of over 200 million people, you don't find a way of distributing responsibilities and duties within the federal structure equally. You're having 90% or 95% of the top appointment of the chief of staff of all various armed forces divisions in one zone. They came from one zone. So a lot of all those things have happened in the last 8 years, which hasn't happened before. I mean, Cliff, if you remember the time of President Olusegun Obasanjo, you will remember that he was from Abeokuta, from Ogun State, and the way that he ran his government, it was all regional inclusion government that he ran.
I will disagree with you on that one. I will
Okay.
definitely disagree
Can I,
with you
before
on that
you
one.
come in, Cliff, if I may, Cliff, before you come in, because this is really getting to the heart of the issues inside Nigeria. And I see that I've got my third guest who's arrived, Alistair. What I'm going to do is to bring Alistair into the studio, because Alistair will also provide an interesting perspective on the situation in Nigeria. Alistair, who was a latter-day presidential to know who you are, and then we'll continue with the interview. Good morning to you, sir. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for having me on the program.
Well, good morning. And you are from Nigeria. Can you just tell us which state in Nigeria or do you originate from?
Well, thank you. In terms of a state in Nigeria, I'm probably one of the few people that always say I don't have a state in Nigeria. I'm just a Nigerian from the north and the southern part of the country. So I'm a bridge between the north and the south, understand a little bit of the languages. And one issue that I always say is a big problem for my country is that part of saying, what state are you from? That continue to create that strong diversity that we talk about, but it creates all the challenges that the country as well is going through.
I can tell that you and I are of similar political skills, okay? And of course, I'm going to press you a little more on this one, of course. It is, and I recognise whenever speaking to Nigerians, and you're quite right, that there is an emphasis on communities, tribe, and place of birth. Okay, and that's powerful, but it influences your names. Influence your name. Okay? So,
yeah,
because I'm aware of this, I have to press you. Okay, it is an unusual response from the north and the south. Okay, you might want to tell us: is your father from the north or is your mother from the south, or vice versa? Pray tell, please.
My mother is from the north. My father is from the south.
I like you. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And let me continue in that case. Are there parts of the North that you believe has significant cultural relevance to Nigeria that we should be aware? Because there are many audience who are hearing from Nigeria and speak about the country with pride. And I want you to focus on what is good. So tell me, from a Northerners perspective, what in the North do you believe, from a cultural perspective, is significant and you want to bring to the attention of my audience?
Wow. Nigeria been a so much diversified country with more than 300 different ethnic groups and different languages in the country. The unique point is that we came together, of course, in 1914 by whatever means people may describe it. And we have been going for more than 100 years, and we got our independence in 1960. And the reality is we have come across so many challenging issues, conflict that affected the country as a nation. But again, many other African countries have gone through similar thing.
So give us a cultural significance. Give us a cultural significance.
Yes.
Yeah.
So get into that point of the cultural is basically, one can say in the North, there's the silence of the silence of that they don't understand what Nigeria is. There's the silence of that they are not Nigerians or what brought us together. But when you look at the culture of the North, to be honest, it's not much different from the culture in the South, which means the value of family, the value of religion, the value of belief, the value of we are better than you, which is not neither North nor South, is cultural something that has been built into the nature of a person from the northern part of Nigeria. But by assimilation as well, as you move within the North, you find out that the Southern influence is culturally embodied in the North. Now, what really separates us culturally is not as significant as what separates us religiously, which in the term of religion, there's only two that are prominently recognized in Nigeria. Either you're a Christian or you're a Muslim. But in terms of culture, really, there is that something that is bonded, not just within the North, but including the South, that culturally we are very strong. So for me, being a Northerner, being a Southerner, and speaking both languages, I know the difference. Sometimes people might see me so calm, yet so bold. The calmness maybe come from the northern aspect of it, that whatever happened to you in life because of the religious affiliation, you will say is equal Allah, meaning that it's God ordained. And if you jump onto the main road and you're hit by a car, you just say it's God ordained, rather than no, actually, you should have been mindful that you're crossing the road. So culturally, I think there's not much different. Each one of us from the North or South believe that our culture is what identify us as Nigerians.
Okay. I'm gonna let you. I'll press on. Thank you for that interesting response. It's interesting. It illuminates the religions brought to Nigeria and their significance, and it's interesting to hear your response in regards to there being the two main and the traditional belief system. You haven't mentioned yet, but I will press you later on this. But I'm going to just broaden my question, and I'm going to bring to all three of you. I'm expecting a fourth guest. She will join us shortly, but I think, if I may. So this election, what is the significance of this presidential election this time? I put it both to James and to Cliff. I've now put it to you, Alistair. What is the significance of the election this time? Why is it significant? Please.
I think the significance of this is people like us in 2019 that venture into the political leadership in the country open the vision and the eye of many Nigerians to see that things can be done. In the sense that we are not normal politicians. I'm an entrepreneur in the United Kingdom, started the first black television in Europe, and seeing the aspect and the challenges.
What's the name of the channel, sir?
Ben Television.
You're the founder. Excellent. Yes, go ahead.
So looking at the leadership challenges and what we have experienced in the diaspora, being a former diaspora leader as well, makes us decided to go into the politics, not necessarily saying we must be elected, but it allowed the Nigerian people to see a new angle into leadership that is accountable to the Nigerian people. So 2023, without any doubt, is absolutely significant because President Muhammad Buhari has completed his tenure, first time and second time in office. Now, the power of incumbency is totally eliminated. And that now bring in the ideological thinking of the Nigerian people in the sense of where there is fairness, equity, and justice. The next president of Nigeria should come from the southern part of the country. Now, in the sense that why is that necessary? Why is that significant? Because President Muhammad Buhari is a Muslim and he's from the northern part of the country. So it now allows somebody from the south to come into the equation. And then the significance of this as well is within the major political parties in the country, be it APC, PDP, and of course the emergence of Labour Party, the NNPP, and the remaining party created a massive interest, not just in Nigeria as a powerhouse, but across the globe. And then again, when you now look at the normal major players, which are the two major political parties, having the criteria of saying they have a southern element in their party, and yet technically those that were expected to emerge did not emerge from these major political parties. And then that now created the breakaway, even before the time of the people like Peter Obi and Kwankwaso and the remaining emerging young politicians that have entered the 2023 election. Is this significant to the Nigerian people? Absolutely. Is this significance globally? Without any doubt. Nigeria is a power broker. Anywhere you are around the world, you find the Nigerians in that country succeeding absolutely very well. So 2023, taking away this, and then the emergence of the Nigerian youth, believing that the country really needs to have a new direction in terms of leadership and in terms of governance. That now creates what we now seeing that now make the 2023 an absolutely significant election in the country. As of this hour, as we know, in few places people have already voted, but in the remaining places, of course, the country of more than 90%, they're just beginning to start. And by God's grace, from 5 p.m. tonight, we will know who is leading. All of them being equal, because they're using technology, they're using machines, they're using things that have never been used in Nigeria before. We will know who will emerge in hopefully by tomorrow. So for us, this is a new direction in the history of Nigeria. We have never had it lately where you have 3 or 4 or 5 major candidates and political parties playing this game. We have never had it this good over the last years, whereby the candidate are not just been spoken in a negative way throughout, but you now have all the candidates that have created a positive angle, either in terms of international news, local coverage, and for the Nigerian people, to be honest, the emergence of Peter Obi, Kwankwaso, Prince Adewale has directed not just the negative stories about the country, but a positive aspect that we hope can only get better.
Thank you. Thank you. Beautifully said. Thank you very much. And what I'm going to do, if I may, and just hold you, all 3 of you gentlemen there. I see we have a caller on the line, and this time I'll be kind to callers. Caller with number ending 1375. Good morning to you. Good morning. Who do we have on the line? Oh, wonderful, wonderful, Onyeka. Thank you for calling in. I just want to make sure your volume is rather low, so I'm going to adjust your volume. So Onyeka, are you from Nigeria? Can I ask you where in Nigeria? I'm going to ask the same question.
I will borrow the same name and say that I'm from both the west of Nigeria and the east of Nigeria.
Okay.
That was that, in Nigeria is made up of, you can say, back on north and south, you have 3 blocks that made up Nigeria, the north, the west, and the east. So I'm originally from the east, but I was born and brought up in the west.
I understand, yes.
That was all I can say for now.
Okay.
You know about Nigeria amalgamation in 1914, which was to me, is unfortunate. Nigeria should not have been a nation because we have what they call dangerous diversity.
Yes.
That was from growing as a nation. That is because I believe that Nigeria cannot be naturally said to be a nation because there's nobody like in Nigeria really.
Okay. Can I, before you pursue that line of inquiry, ask you my follow-up question that I put to each of my guests, and that is that you're from the West. Is there a cultural significance for people in the western part of Nigeria that you can give highlight to? Okay.
Even if you go to the north, there's so many diversities in the north.
Yes.
We have the Hausa, the Wari,
Mm-hmm.
we have the Fulani,
yes.
we have the Yukon have so many diversity in the north, and these people are different culturally. Anyway you look at it, religious-wise,
so tell us about the West. Tell us about the West. Tell us about the West, the peoples of the West.
The predominant people in the West are the Yorubas. Yorubas culturally are different, religious-wise are different. If you go to the East, the predominant people there are the Igbos, but we have other minorities like the Izo, we have the Epics, we have the Ibios, we have the, how I call them again, the Yorubas. There's so many kind of tribes there, but predominantly they are Igbos there. Even though if you look at the East, their culture are kind of similar, but the language is very different.
Indeed,
but
yes.
there's still diversity there. But in whole, Nigeria has to be true to ourselves. Nigeria should be at least 4 countries.
Okay. Again, I know you. If I may, hold on a second. I'm going to try and encourage you. Hold on a second, please. Hold on a second. What I want to do, and I know the line of inquiry you'll pursue, and I'm just struck by Cliff's Ezebato's introduction on the Adanama state and its diversity and the ability to live in peace as an underlying principle. Okay, and it'd be interesting to hear you both interacting together, and I will come to that. But what I want to do, because I note that we are all men and we've all spoken, okay? I want to bring in my co-presenter. She's here to maintain that mahat, the balance between the male and the female, personal, exceptional personal integrity and intelligence. So I want to bring her in, and I know she will have a question for all of you gentlemen. Empress Abner, please.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to ask, why there's so few presidential women candidates? So why are not enough women coming forward to lead Nigeria?
All right. Who wishes to take that question first? Oh, that's an interesting one. Well, the gentleman was smiling.
Well,
yeah, Alistair, yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, well, it's not an issue that there are less presidential women. For example, this time around, there's 18 political parties in the country. And to be honest, not putting women aside, because in our own group, for example, almost all the leadership positions were occupied by ladies and female. But the system in the Nigerian situation is so ridiculously different. And unless and until the culture and the religion play a minor role in the Nigerian leadership, these challenges will continue to be there for some time. So I think it's more to do with the culture, it's more to do with religion, and it's more to do with how the country has been growing, rather than maybe there are no women leaders that can occupy those type of position. And of course, out of the 18 political parties, few of them do have women vice presidential candidates. And when you take into account that, for example, some time ago, when women emerged to lead, they hardly
took until the 21st century for Britain to have its first woman prime minister. Yeah, 21st century. So that's very significant. And Britain being the first democracy in the world, you know. So that's a very powerful message. I wonder if other gentlemen here would like to comment, Cliff or James, wish to comment on this. The presence of women or the absence of women.
I think,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think I have a different opinion than that, because if you look at Adamawa State right now, there's a woman actually that is in the ballot for governor of Adamawa State. And she's actually from the
your sound, Cliff. I think maybe you're too close to your microphone on this occasion. Initially, you started off very well.
Am I too close to my mic? Is it better now?
Yeah, you'll see. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, try that. Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So what I'm saying here is that I'm kind of going to move away from that sort of from that sort of thinking of my other colleague over there. I don't know what's his name. It says Comrade
Alistair.
Alistair. So in Adamawa State, there is a woman. There is actually a woman in the ballot right now, and she's running for the governor of Adamawa State. She's on one of the prominent parties. She's contesting.
APC.
Yeah, she's contesting against the incumbent. And my brother, my actually first cousin is the deputy governor of Adamawa State. So it's kind of interesting to see, and he's actually replaced by a woman, again from our kingdom, in Adamawa State. And so there's a woman deputy governor, and there is a woman governor, candidate that is running for the office of the chief executive of a state right now. So there is a competitive, and it's in the northern part of Nigeria that is leveled with all kinds of religious. Even though Islam is not the highest, it's not the most popular religion in Adamawa State, but there is a shifting narrative that we're seeing here in Adamawa State. Now, if you come from Adamawa State and you're a Christian, it's just like Alistair. You live in the north, but you are a Muslim. You're a Christian. So there is a sphere of that influence of both Christianity and Islam sort of convoluted in this sort of important space that we call Nigeria and Adamawa State. So I think it'd be interesting to see that conversation about women participating in politics is not fair, is not unfairly sort of discourse within this kind of platform, but to bring into the reality that there is an emergent. Women in Africa have contributed so much.
Yes.
To every aspect of our lives, in Africa. So, and I think that they are building up. They're building up momentum. They're encouraging from the sidelines, and also in physical and presence. They're very, very unique in terms of their contribution, and how this political landscape right now in Nigeria is sort of emerging. It's going to be very, very interesting actually to see how what is happening in Adamawa State sort of comes out. And then for me, I think that women participation in politics in Africa, it's very important. Now, if you go back to Liberia, it's a very good example. If you go to Tanzania, we're seeing another emergence of women leaders. If you go to Ethiopia, there's a woman
Mauritius, Gabon.
Yeah, Mauritius, so there's been representation of women in African politics for the greatest part of our time. For Nigeria, I don't think it's going to take too long. It's just going to take a little bit of that charismatic sort of movement, like what we're seeing in Peter Obi, to just show for that charisma, and then the whole thing will change.
Thank you. James, did you want to make comment on this issue of women in politics in Nigeria?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Martin. I believe so much in women participation in politics, not just in Nigeria, but anywhere in the world, because the contribution of women in the political system globally has a very strong weight on our political structure and system. In Nigeria, women participation in politics have actually increased in the last 5 years. We've had major there's an echo there. We've had major participation of women in politics in Nigeria in the last 5 years, although not in the presidential office position.
Interesting.
So yeah. So I think that it's a process that is emerging and also increasing in Nigeria to have women participation in politics. And just like you rightly said, it was only in the 21st century that we have the first women prime minister here in the United Kingdom, who was Margaret Thatcher. And before then, it took many years before we had that. And compared to Nigeria, how many years we've been existing and running, and to how we've had women participation, I think that we're making progress there. I know that very soon, at some point, we will have a woman lady president in Nigeria, definitely. But even though we haven't had one now, we've had women that have held very critical offices, who have been like political angels in.
Okay. Now you must forgive me, James. We're getting some problem with your audio. It's possible if you turn off your camera. If you turn off your camera, it might be a bandwidth issue. If you turn off your camera, that might help us. What we think. That's better. Can you just repeat what you said at the end of what you're describing in terms of women in politics?
Yes. What I said in the last statement was the fact that in Nigeria, we've had women that have occupied very critical offices in the regime that we now, and the last regime, who have been like political engine to the political vehicle in Nigeria. And they've done tremendously well. They've helped to turn around the structure of our economy, and also to bring the economy to limelight in terms of positive things. So, and I'm saying that it's a gradual process. We will get there. We'll have a female president in Nigeria at some point.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much for that. That's an interesting response. And if I may take the caller on the other line, on the 1375, did you want to make any comment on women in politics in Nigeria?
Most of things the way it actually is. I think Nigeria is not an exception to what is happening globally. You know, the Nigerian system is initially, or it is related, just like how everything is a way of life globally. Also, that it took Britain how many years or centuries before they got a female prime minister. I think the same thing applies to Nigeria. I think Nigeria is beginning to evolve. Women are taking more front row in teams, not only in politics, even in other sphere of life, in education, in business, you know, in corporate world. Women are beginning to step up gradually. And I think it's a matter of time that Nigeria will also have a female president.
I agree.
And we have a lot of women that are qualified to be Nigerian president, if you ask me. You know, it's just that the system has not allowed the emergence of a female president at the moment. But it's something that at some point is going to happen. We're going to evolve to a point that it will naturally just happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very clear, and I generally agree with all contributors so far in relation to women. Can I now move us forward? Of course, I'm by nature an optimist. Okay, I'm by nature an optimist. And I wonder if any one of you will be bold enough to predict the likely winner of this election. I'm just going to ask, go through to each one of you. You might want to just give a name because it's underway now. You can't influence the result, but I wonder if I can ask you to indicate which of those candidates you would like to see the success so far. Let's begin with Cliff. Would you like to say who do you think will be
you're picking me because I'm in Canada. That's not fair. That's not fair. All right, you're putting me. All right. I'm just gonna go out and just out of the limb and just say Tinubu is going to win this election on the first ballot.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Let's go now to James. Who do you believe will win the election this time?
Martin, I agree with Cliff that Tinubu will emerge the winner on the first ballot. But whether or not he finally becomes the president of Nigeria, I don't know. Because I know for a fact that the country is at a boiling point. And
before you do
the desire of
before you do that, I'm going to get to that question. I really just want you to indicate who you believe will win. So, didn't you say?
I believe that I believe that Tinubu will win on the first ballot. Yeah.
Hold on, that's fine. That's what I want to hear. I did get a sense of the room at the moment. If I now move to Alistair.
I'm just trying to count how many people are on this in the panel. So I can see HH, Cleve, and I can see the Mr. Abana and myself, right?
Yes.
So the three of us. So what I would do is I will give them the benefit of the doubt and be silent.
That's not fair. That's not democracy. That's not democracy.
Hold on.
It's part of democracy. It's part of democracy. You know.
Hold on. Now, I hear you, Alistair, and I sense.
Alistair, answer the question.
Yeah, it'd be good if you did answer the question. On this occasion, it'd be good for you to answer the question. Yeah.
Don't chicken away.
Would it be fair to say then, Alistair, that the current ruling party, you have strong links with the current ruling party?
No, I have a very strong relationship with Nigeria. Absolutely, you're right.
The ruling party?
Nigeria.
APC?
No, I have a very strong relationship with Nigeria.
Oh, here, I'm sorry, I've invited.
I think Alistair is not forthcoming. I don't know why Alistair is not forthcoming. But I think this conversation is getting interesting. But he's not forthcoming. Why?
Okay. Well,
Alistair is a
politician. Yes, he is a politician.
Alistair is a politician, and there are ways that politicians present themselves, especially in public. I know that Alistair had contested for the office of the president of Nigeria at some stage. I can't remember what year that was, but I know Alistair personally, and I know he had contested once. So, but I think the reason why Alistair may want to be silent is that his own view may be different from the view of the two of us. But still, it would be nice, Alistair, if you can just give us a nice feel of your take and your view on it, so that we can also enjoy the benefit of your mindset in the whole of the picture that we're talking about.
Well, you see, Mr. Bernard, the problem is two already have voted for one candidate. So 2 against 1 is not standing. So that's why I don't want to even add it, because as the presenter would know, majority always win the vote. So that's why I asked the question, how many people are in the panel?
All right. I'm going to break this up. Hold on a second. I'm going to break this up. Alistair, you're not being able to express an opinion, as to who you would like to see win, and I'm then going to go on to ask each of you.
I don't want to sway. Yeah? I don't want to sway the millions of people that are yet to cast their vote, who are following me. Right. So I need to be extremely careful, just as H.H. Cleve has noted, And Mr. Ben has noted not to see the election is just starting, and we're still receiving a report from different places. So you don't want to, and I'm told campaign has stopped.
All right, I'm not going to press you. I'm not going to press you. I mean, think about time. Time is flying by.
That's not
what
fair.
What I'm going to do? Yeah. Yes. Go ahead. Yeah. Yes. Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead. They're too loud. Oh, okay. It's too loud. Okay. Thank you for that feedback. Okay. Thank you for that feedback. Thank you. I've just adjusted my volume. I'm just conscious there's some that weren't. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Thank you. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go over to my my co-presenter. Who I'm going to invite to ask the next question. And whilst she's preparing that question, I'm just going to say to each one of you that we've got 14 minutes left in this particular show. You've all agreed that this is a significant presidential election process is underway. And it's one that has demonstrated that Nigeria is evolving. Okay, and compared to Britain, it's evolving at a far greater rate of change. Okay. A question I want to put to you, and then we'll go over to my colleague, is of course young people. Okay, Nigeria is a very young country, very young country. Okay, and if I don't know if each of you have children, okay, but what are the young people or your children saying to you about the country of Nigeria? What do they want? I wonder if any one of you are sensitive what young people are saying about the country and what are their aspirations. Let me start with Alistair, as he didn't want to answer the last question. This question I hope you will want to respond to.
Well, as I mentioned, quite a lot of youth, and let's come back to, for example, my own children. Without any doubt, they see Nigeria as a wonderful country where they can contribute to our development and growth. And this is the same thing that we have experienced coming across many other younger potential voters in the country that really want to see a glorious country based on the stories that they have read. For example, in the 60s, minus the war in the 70s, and in the 80s, 90s, and as of today. And there is no doubt when you look at the resources of the country, that country, without any doubt, should be much more higher up the scale, up the level internationally and on the African continent beyond where she is presently. So for me, and following what is happening and doing the examination back home meaning with the family, they definitely feel that they can contribute to the country development. And that is why we presume that the 10 million or so new voters who are of younger generation want to contribute and they want to participate in this significant 2023 election in the country.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's a very clear response. Thank you very much. Can I now go to James? I don't know if you have children, James, but if you have children or indeed have you spoken to young people, what are their views on the presidential elections?
Well, I've got 5 children. I'm a grandfather. So
bless you.
Yeah, I've taken my children to Nigeria on a number of occasions. So my children love Nigeria. They will love to be part of the structure, building structure in Nigeria. And I've got a lot of young people in the churches that I lead at the moment. So the view of the young people is the future that they desire, that they look forward to, has gradually been destroyed and has been damaged, and they're looking for how that can be rebuilt. Nigeria at the moment is at a point where there is need for a national rebuilding process, because the country has been run to the ground severely. And if you look at things that have happened in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, how people have suffered seriously just to get some money that they deposited in the bank to be able to feed their families. Some young men died in the queue. A lady committed suicide because of frustration, and these are all young people. So they've seen the horror that the current leaders in Nigeria have brought to us, and they're saying that they want to end that horror. They want to bring a new chapter to Nigeria. And so
I'm going to ask you to pause there. Ask you to pause there, James, because you said it. They want change. They want a more hopeful future. I think that's a message I think we can all resonate with. I'm just conscious of my time, so I'm going to go now to where I can't see you, Cliff, but Cliff.
I will disagree. I will disagree with all of them. I disagree with Alistair, and I would disagree with James, because if you look at the historical reality of Nigeria here, is that the current president was in power in the 80s as a very young military officer. OBJ was also a president in Nigeria. He was a head of state in Nigeria as a younger military officer. We have seen Babangida, who came into office as a younger military officer. And we can count how many younger military officers that have ruled Nigeria, and they have turned Nigeria into this mess that we are right now. So knowledge and understanding does not come from old age or young age. We just need brilliant minds. We need brilliant minds that will move stuff from one particular location to another.
Yep.
One of the brilliant minds in Nigeria that is underrated was the former governor of Nigeria under the military governor of Lagos State, Marwa. I worked with him very personally, and he's like a secret of Nigeria. He's the most brilliant. Whatever is happening in Lagos now is because of Marwa. Now, I mean, like, so if we are going to go back and say to ourselves that, you know what, we want young people to come in, we want young minds to come in. We've tried that. It didn't work. Knowledge and understanding and the wisdom and how to move a nation has nothing to do with youthful exuberance or youthful participation or anything like that. But that if the people are willing in every capacity of their life, if there is what we call in the North, Kishin Kasa. You know, Kishin Kasa is different from nationalism. It's the understanding that we have to contribute to our community and to our people. But if we don't have the Kishin Kasa, if we have the Kishi if we have religious sentiments and we have sectional all those things, they will not pine out. None of these things will pine out. We can, go and theorize as much as we want, talk about how the youth have been disenfranchised or how women are disenfranchised. No, the reality here is that we have to have people in our nation that love our nation, that care for our people. And when these people come together and sit down together, there's no religion, there's no gap, age or gender or sex or whatever. Those things are things that Nigeria need. And once we bring this,
okay, that's fine. I've got you. And that's very wise words. I'm just conscious of my time, so I'm going to now just go to my co-presenter. I know she had a question for you all from Empress Abner.
Sorry, I'm just messaging Cliff back. What are the first three issues the president must tackle? What are the issues that they should tackle?
Firstly, if I may, just in fact, we'll start with you, Cliff. What will be the first three issues you believe, and I can ask you to be succinct this time, that the new president would need to tackle?
Bring the country together. Just bring the country together. It doesn't matter whether you are religious, whether you are.
Just a moment there, Cliff. Alistair, hold on, Cliff. Just one moment, please, Cliff. Yeah. Forgive me, Cliff. Could you just hold on just a second? I wouldn't have the problem with mine. Alistair, can you just turn off your camera for a moment? I noticed when your camera was off, Cliff was very clear. Let's just try that experiment. Just turn off your camera. That's it. Cliff, just repeat what you just said. Please say again.
That's what we need in Nigeria right now. If as soon as the new president comes in, he should bring the people together. Bring the people together and solve this money issue. Simple.
Okay. Really noted. Yeah, I'm not sure why that's happened, but never mind. Can I ask you, in that case, in Cliff, to turn off your camera? I'm going to ask Alistair to turn on your camera now, and you may speak in response to that question.
Okay.
You know why his why his audio is a bit like that? Because he just disagreed with what I said earlier. So next time agree with me and you won't have any problem. But I will agree with him. I will agree with him that yes, we need a person that will unite the country. We need a person that will pick the best brain out of the Nigerian best professionals, and forget about what region or religion or section of the country you come from. Deal with the issue of security, because with a good security system, people will be able to function well. People will go back to farm, and the agricultural section that we believe in will improve, and the economy will improve. So with security, at least people have calmer peace of mind to go out and do what they have to do, and then all the other things will fall into places.
Thank you. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Thank you, Alistair. Can I ask you please to turn off your camera, Alistair? I'm now going to go to James.
Thank you so much, Martin. Yeah, I think the first thing that the presidential candidate that emerged as the winner must do is, first thing, like both speakers have said, is to first unite the nation. Nigeria has never been divided like it is right now. Even the governors within the same party in Nigeria have divided themselves so badly that they contradict the president right now. They are in the opposition on the opposition side to the president on major issues. So unity is one major thing that needs to happen. The second thing is the security, like everyone said, and especially Alistair. The security state of things in Nigeria have gone to a terrible level. So that needs to be resolved very quickly. And the third one is to bring stability to the Naira redesign.
Yes.
The Naira redesign is at the moment in a very stormy state, because it came in at a very wrong time, but with a good intention behind it. So that needs to be stabilized and settled. And of course, we need a new Nigeria. Whoever is going to win this presidential election must bring up a new Nigeria for us. The current Nigeria that we are in right now has not worked. It's not working, and it will not work. So there is need for a new Nigeria to emerge, and for a new process to be introduced into the political structure and system of Nigeria. And I'm sure with that, things will start to take a new shape.
Interesting. What you present, of course, is the idea that Nigeria as a state is not sustainable because of its numerous ethnicities, tribes, communities. Okay, but we heard earlier on from Cliff Ezebato, about Adamawa State, okay, and its diversity and the ability of those people to live in peace together. Okay. Are there lessons here that have not been learned by other states, other peoples across the country, that maybe Cliff could elaborate further? Cliff, are you nearby there? Cliff?
I'm here. I can hear you.
Your comment on what James has described, I wonder.
Yes, I think I agree with James 100%. That the security implications in Nigeria.
Your sound has come worse now, Cliff. I'm not sure why. It sounds as if you are cracking. Okay, continue.
Am I better now?
Yes, it's yeah, your sound. Yeah, it has improved. Continue.
Okay, so I think the issue here in terms of Nigerian security here is very important for us, especially in the northeastern part of Nigeria. Whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, you're affected by that. And I think it is critical for all politicians to sort of pay attention to this. That violence doesn't spare any religion. In fact, more Muslims are even hurt more in this crisis, in this kidnapping and all this, the change of the naira. More Muslim communities are hurt because northern part of Nigeria is the least.
Yes, I'm really sorry, Cliff. I'm really sorry. Your audio is has degraded significantly for some reason that I can't quite resolve at this end. But I think, nevertheless, at this point, I think I'm going to pause our interview as our time is up. And what I'm going to do is go over to my co-presenter, and she might just want to say some closing words about what she's heard this morning. I'll invite her to comment.
I think it's going to be an interesting election. I think people need to think about what they're voting for and what they want to strive for Nigeria. And I just hope everybody gets what they want in the end. It's going to be hard, but that's what we can hope for and pray for.
Absolutely. And I want to thank each of you who've contributed to this debate this morning. I want to thank James. I want to thank Alistair. I want to thank you, Cliff, for your contributions. And I also want to thank the callers as well, and those who are listening and viewing this debate. I want to wish all Nigerians who are voting today to vote for a hopeful future. And I hope that following this elections, that Nigeria will come out of it as a stronger, aspirational country, one that will be an example for us all to live up to. Okay, so I want to thank you all, each of you, for your contributions today.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And I wish you all well. I wish you all well. Okay.
Thank you.
And to the audience, thank you. And to the audience, I want to thank you very much for your listening ears and for your viewership. Don't forget, if you're viewing us via YouTube or Facebook, please give us the affirmation, the like button, just so we know that the content meets with your expectation. Okay, and I want to emphasize that you've heard some grandiose words this morning, but you know what I would say here? We need to translate our words into action, and of course, success is ours for the taking. Praise be to you all. Good day to you all. Good weekend to you all. Be good, strong to you all. Goodbye. Until next time. Pleasure.